7. We'll start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, looking at our agenda, is there any amendments or any change?
Yes, Mr. Chair, on late items, 12.1, hiring recommendations, and then 12.2, turf installation. And that's all I have. Those adjustments, could I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Motion's been made. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda with the modifications, with the addition of the higher recommendations and turf installation of 12.1 and 12.2. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes. We have regular board meeting minutes from May 11/15, and work session minutes from May 11/15. And again, we also have regular meeting minutes from May 18th, and work session minutes from June 1st. Approve them all as one, or individually, or with corrections.
I move we approve the minutes as presented. All set.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Early items. So we have a report from our advanced middle school math field trip.
Okay, so the first place we visited was the Resignations Center. At the center, they focused on making products better. This center focused on baseballs, basketballs, soccer balls, bats, mitts, and just making them. Scott, Bergeron, and Arthur let us go into the testing facility, although they were not allowed to take pictures because we saw stuff that hasn't been released to the public yet. When the athletes need better equipment, Scott and Arthur try to quantify what better means and how to achieve better, focusing on what the athlete says and wants. Their current project was a mitt. It wasn't made entirely out of leather. They tested and improved the strings on the mitt. They also created machines to do the testing. This can take up to 6 months. After the Nike Innovation Center, we visited Linda Williams at Intel. Linda is a Lakeview graduate and a daily fund recipient. She also works with employees to place them in appropriate positions.
Before we talked to Linda, we took a tour of the warehouse and built and shipped gaming systems. We got to see new products and a server that costs up to $80,000. He told us that it takes about $20,000 to make. He also explained about the Cycon and the semiconductors. 2 other Intel employees told us their story about finishing school and working for the company. One, whose name is Ulu, grew up and got his bachelor's degree in Nigeria. He then moved to the U.S. and became a silicon engineer. They all seem to think of Intel as a tight-knit family, even though it's 4 times the size of our town. The following morning, we went down to Portland. We were dropped off at Allenby and walked across the Hawthorne Bridge. We saw many homeless people under the bridge, and that scared us. Walking across the bridge was scary because bikers kept trying to pass us, and the traffic was fast and close. And people are famous.
At this point, we met our first presenter of the day. He's currently a wealth management professional, but went through a series of careers before he was able to obtain the job he has. He was first a CPA and then a consultant to wealth management people, connecting them with clients through their attorneys and CPA. We were allowed to sit in the boardroom on the 6th floor during his presentation, which was beautiful and included a kitchen. His dad was a professional soccer player, and Hank played baseball in college, but continued his education because he knew it would be important. The class considers this presenter to be the best because he connected with everyone and he was funny. He was comfortable and knowledgeable while he spoke and had a lot of different experiences which he shared.
Then we went to Standard Insurance and listened to an actuary. He told us about the actuary tests that are required to pass in order to get a job. It takes an average of 7 years to pass these tests. He talked about the pros and cons of being an actuary and exactly what they do. They analyze risk and the factors that make risk more likely and how much a client should pay for that. Our final place had 2 presenters. The first one was a forensic accountant. He explained his career as going through records to look for the accounting evidence in a trial. The next person was an executive assistant to the forensic accountant. She explained a scenario in which her skills are used for a presentation in a court of law. The last person we saw was a professor at University of Portland. She explained the math department and the support available for students.
So some improvements for next year. It would be interesting to see more of Nike and Daisy how they test their apparel.
It might also be interesting to see how they put together processors in the clean room.
I personally agree with the improvements.
It'd be good if my mom didn't fall on the field trip.
Give you a red.
She just kind of went off.
Started the trip off right. They had something to laugh about.
If you have any questions for these guys, they'd be happy to answer.
What did you enjoy the most? What was the most interesting?
Well, for me, the American because I really like Nike and enjoy sports, so it was cool to see all that stuff.
I like Nike as well. It was cool to see all the new products.
I was also a fan of Nike, and I liked Hank's Wall's office too because it was fun, and he just really connected with everyone.
For me, it's really hard to pick a favorite because they were all really cool and really fun. We got to learn about all sorts of different cool stuff, and yeah, they were pretty cool.
So does that make you feel like you're gonna continue on toward math and those possibilities?
You know, they showed us a lot of things about how much money we
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah.
They check out the school board too.
They were really seemed affected by the homeless population there. We had to walk, when we walked from Omsi under the Hawthorne Bridge and then up onto the Hawthorne Bridge and across the river. In the morning, there's this huge population of homeless people just kind of getting up for the day, and it was a shocker. And one of the kids looked at me and said, "I can't believe you took us here," because they were kind of scared. So it was really a good, it was an eye-opening experience for them, for sure.
Then you can see how much better it is having homes and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really dirty, right?
Yeah.
I don't like big cities, so
You're no big fan.
yeah.
How many people went?
There was
About 15.
15 kids and like
6,
6 chaperones. 5 or 6. Yeah.
All right. Very good.
Well, thank you for your report. Very nice. And go to your picture packet. Well, everybody's
There is a picture.
So next time, is this thing hooked up?
Pardon?
Next time I'll bring out pictures, a slideshow. Next year.
Just let us know.
I know, yeah.
Get out.
Thanks to Mrs. Vandenberg and the kids, they do a lot of pre-work on this, and to Janet also to the work that she did finding the funds, and those two ladies worked incredibly hard, deserve a lot of credit for this trip. It's our second year going, and it's a great opportunity for our advanced math kids.
And thanks to you for allowing us to do this and a supportive administration. And these presenters are just amazing. I wish that we could meet them all because they give their time and they don't seem rushed at all, and they'll just answer any question, and they pulled me aside, each one of them pulled me aside and said something like, this is a really good thing you're doing because I was good at math and I didn't want to be a math teacher, and so they didn't pursue math until later, and because they didn't know what was out there. And then one of them said that these guys asked some really good questions. So they were engaging in math to make these guys listen, and they were good listeners, and they took notes, and all the stuff you're hearing is from their notes that they took. And so they were really engaged because of the presenters and because they were really good kids too. So.
So if you're advanced math, do you have it figured out how many minutes are left until you're out of school for this year? Sounds like.
Class.
All right.
Oh,
All right, thank you, Jeff.
Well, thank you.
Scott, you got it now.
Right, thank you. Do you guys also sign it? They go.
We will move on to correspondence.
This was Chair, just a line of this thank you card from the treats, lovely bouquet, University and Teacher Appreciation Week, I believe 3 months staff. 3 months. Yeah. Let's pass that along.
Thank you. Okay. Then moving on to public comment.
I know Jesse's just dying to say something. Nobody has it?
Ours is believe actually not,
So hearing none, we will move on to reports. Smarter Balance summary.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Unfortunately, Tara Counts, our district assessment coordinator, could not be here tonight, but I wanted to present this report in a timely fashion. We just concluded our first official round of Smarter Balance assessments, and so I have put a very detailed report together of what she observed, what she learned, what she saw that going on in the classrooms with the staff and the students. We had, I think we're just a shade below 100% participation, which was incredible for us. Yeah, where there's some hurdles here and there with the Smarter Balance assessment, you bet. Anytime you roll out something new, you're going to have some hurdles, you're going to have some challenges. There were some assessments that were spot on in terms of how long they took. Other assessments, they took almost double the amount of time as predicted, and so I know there's been discussion even at the state level already that feedback has reached ODE, and I'm pretty sure that there's going to be some tweaks and changes for next year, which is second round. So Tara herself, this is her conclusion of her first official year as district assessment coordinator, and she's done a phenomenal job for our staff, and she's really expanded her position to support staff in a lot of different areas that this position hadn't traditionally done, but as a part of our restructuring efforts, was able for her to expand into. So if you have any questions, let me know. If I don't know the answer, I can certainly pass along to Tara and give you some feedback if you are interested in some additional information.
So, the written building reports are in the packet. Okay, so you've got a chance to look at them. Are there any comments or questions?
Tell Tara thanks for the report.
Yeah, I will.
So with graduation Saturday, how many folks graduated?
57.
And how many are doing the year 5, the 5th years?
I think we have 10, possibly around
12.
12.
I say 12.
12.
So is that in addition to 57, or is that part of the 50?
Part of the 50.
Part of it, so, do they have to earn their diploma to be able to qualify for that program. Yes, yes, it's very exciting. Yeah, and I got to hand it to Mr. Brock and his staff for an incredible graduation rate this year. 57 out of 57, they all walked across the stage with a diploma. So, very, very impressive. Something to be very proud of and something to put as a feather in our cap.
And on the Fremont Day report, I just wanted to say that I stumbled into the elementary track meet the other day, and it was looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, first ever, parents club put it together, and it was a great day. Kids just had a blast. So,
And I also want to say thank you, the FFA banquet, and also went to the basketball banquet. Well, a pretty good crop of kids to be proud of in this school.
yeah. Anything else? Thank you for the building reports. Appreciate that update. School funding is for the state of Oregon.
Yeah, very quickly, Mr. Chair, you can read it as well as I can read it to you. I attached an article to this memo in terms of now is a really good time to again communicate to legislators in terms of advocating for additional funding for K-12 schools. There is money out there, and they're in hot debate right now in terms of where to plug it in. Some of the feedback coming back from some of the legislators are, gee, we're not seeing districts cut, so they must be fine. When, just as you mentioned earlier, Mr. Gustavson, that we haven't dug ourselves out of the recession hole yet. We're a long ways from that, and we've got a long ways to go. So anything we can do, and it doesn't have to be a lengthy letter. It could be a simple, short one sentence. And what they're requesting is that we communicate with our regional legislators. We don't canvass out of our areas. And we just remind the legislators to please be an advocate for our schools and please keep us in mind. That article came out of the Oregonian. The reason I highlighted it, it was highlighted by OSBA as a state of affairs for the state of Oregon. I know there's a little bit of debate in terms of some of the metrics that are mentioned in there. That, you know, when Oregon schools rank number 38 in the nation in terms of performance overall, it's a concern. Also, another stat that they threw out there was that every year 10,000 young Oregonians quit school without a diploma. Didn't happen here, but, you know, it's happening across the state. Huge class sizes, counselor ratios that are very, very high. I know that there's some disagreement, like Oregon Schools Chief Rob Saxon disagrees with the weight that the Oregonian is placing on graduation rates. And there is some discrepancies from state to state. The graduation requirements do vary. And so what I did is I also included on page 34 of your packet a multicolored map. And this is an attempt by the feds to put together an overall adjusted cohort graduation rate. And what they did is they took all the states and they said, okay, we have these different formulas, let's put it on an equal playing field, and they did. And notice that Oregon is its own unique color. In this case, it's not good, because we are at the bottom of the pack. And so in terms of graduation rates, it's not something to be proud of for the state of Oregon. But again, this is another rationale as to why we need funding. Also,
So what's the best color?
the best color is blue, which is 90% or above. And I don't believe I see any blues, because that is the target, is 90% above. They're wanting to see that nationwide.
Green is the...
Green is 85 to 89%.
Oh,
And
really?
yellow is 80 to 84%, red is 70 to 79%, and then the brown, which is, we're the only brown state in this map, is 69% or below. So something to be very concerned about. If you look back on that article in Oregon Live, it says, quote, Oregon's low ranking in school performance is remarkably similar to its relatively low spending on public schools. And so they're equating the low spending on public schools with the low performance rates. And so there definitely is a concern there.
Idaho's no data, so you have one hole, maybe there was.
I'm sorry.
Idaho's no data, so maybe there was.
That's true. Yeah, Idaho didn't submit any data, so we don't know on
Maybe
that.
there's second to that.
Maybe the second one. Yeah, good question. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah. Things make you go,
No, at least Lake County's not brown.
no, no, absolutely not. Again, we need to be very proud of our achievements. We are not like the rest of the state.
Where are the woods?
Pardon me?
Where are the woods?
Yes, we are.
You have two additional documents in that section.
So we have,
I do.
Yeah, there's the letter that you wrote and the letter from Grant.
So that's a legislative piece. That's the next section.
so that would be 7-3?
7-4.
Okay, so 7-3 was this,
School funding in the state of Oregon.
we just covered that one?
Mm-hmm.
So we're at 7-4.
Yep. I'm working on some of the notes that I've been a part of, discussions at the state level in terms of legislative updates. I included some OSBA updates also, so I'm just going to kind of go through my whole packet here. Some of the information you have in front of you, some is just verbal. Let's see. Again, dollars. We're thinking that we're going to get somewhat north of 7.4 billion. They feel pretty confident in that. Keep in mind, we started at well below 7 billion, and so we've really come up a long ways with the campaign that's been going with our state legislators. And I don't think you'll find many legislators that will disagree that K-12 schools need additional funding. It's just the debate is where best to put our valuable dollars in terms of what the other needs of the state are. So there's a lot of doubt in terms of getting to the 7.5 billion level. They think that we're going to settle somewhere between 7.4 and 7.5. There's been a lot of discussion on the kicker again. I think there's a underground movement to try and redirect the kicker tax away from the refunds for voters and send it to the education rainy day school fund. That doesn't seem to have a whole lot of traction. So that's not looking very likely at this point. Smarter Balanced opt-out bill. This was Oregon Education Association's number one priority. It looks like there's enough forward momentum with that it will get passed. Keep in mind, last board meeting I reported that the feds issued a letter, a nasty gram to ODE saying if this legislation is passed, it could become an Office of Civil Rights issue, and it could be in direct violation with the No Child Left Behind Act waiver, which would jeopardize a lot of federal funding. So what they've done since then, so it went back to committee and they've regrouped that particular opt-out bill. And what they've done is it'll be a 6-year notification to parents of opt-out of Smarter Balance assessments, and it won't become effective until next February. And they're hoping that delay gets the feds off our back. That's what they're hoping. But again, there's a little bit of discrepancy in terms of will that work or not. They're going to try it, it looks like, if this gets passed, and then they'll just kind of monitor and adjust it. And if it looks like we're going to lose a lot of federal funding as a result, then I think they'll probably try to go back and redo it again so they don't lose millions of dollars in federal funding. So that's kind of an interesting one. House Bill 2544, expedited bargaining. They eliminated the binding arbitration piece, as what we had talked about in our work session. But it did include that for contracts that are more than 2 years long, the district could not do anything in the first 180 days of the contract or the last 180 days of the contract. In other words, there could be no revisions to the contract. Once that contract is settled, on the first 180 and the last 180, no changes whatsoever until you enter into regular negotiations again. So that was kind of the compromise. That could be positive, could be negative, it just depends on how you look at it. So there is traction with the House Bill 2544 and expedited bargaining still. 5th-year programs, we thought that had gone away, but it flared up again. And they have regrouped and rewritten the Senate bill to create a moratorium for any districts that did not have a program in 2014-15. So we're lucky because we started our advanced diploma program well in advance. But for those districts that are looking at starting it for this next year, if this bill gets passed, that would jeopardize them being able to start that. And what they want to do is they want to create the moratorium and then create a study committee made up of state leaders to try and figure out, gee, what do we do with this thing? Because everybody likes the idea of the advanced diploma and the fifth-year funding, but they don't like the idea that it comes out of the K through 12 piece of pie. There needs to be something different, because if everybody jumped in, it could significantly dilute the ADM available for students statewide, and it could really become a K through 12 school funding issue. So there needs to be some further work on that, and to tell you the truth, I agree with that. We need to find a different way of funding that. The good news is I think there's enough momentum with this program statewide that I doubt it will see it going away. It's very popular.
I guess the question would be to monitor it and see if it changes those community college graduation rates from down at 24 to something like 30.
Yeah.
If it does something like that, then it's just reallocation of dollars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Because that's the goal. That's where I was surprised with that.
Yeah.
That community college graduation rate was really low.
Really low.
God, it was.
And we had talked about Senate Bill 81 the last time we met, the community college funding bill, where the state would invest $20 million and they would capture the rest in federal to be able to create 2-year programs available for all students, free of cost. But it doesn't seem to be there's enough momentum with that right now.
Well, yeah, just that's 24% is what the.
Yeah, I think that right there is causing a lot of raised eyebrows and concern. So I think it's a great idea, but there still needs to be some people sent back to the drawing board and rethinking this whole thing in terms of how best to fund it. Interdistrict transfer bill, that is moving forward. In fact, you have something on that. I included an article on that, and you can read through all those bullets. It really doesn't affect us that much with where we're at, but there's a lot of things that are cleaned up in the language for other districts that it actually is a positive improvement. There is forward momentum in terms of ELL funding, so there'll be additional funding for ELL programs. The Senate Bill 447 on facilities and matching dollars. There still is forward momentum, but the money allocated to that is still undetermined at this point. We don't know where that funding will end up. They're saying that the session has 3 more weeks to wrap up, so they're talking now into July. It's going to go a little longer than what they had anticipated. I also included the letter that I sent to Senator Whitsitt, as well as Representative Whitsitt, on asking them to keep in mind additional staffing and additional funding and resources for our districts, K-12 districts, even though we're not in cut mode. There's rationales to why. And I thought it was interesting to note that, we've talked about this, that we've had, during the trough of our cuts, had lost overall, on average, district-wide, 17.5% of our staff. Now, I included the letter from Grant County School District, just as a comparison, and that was offered by Mark Woody, their superintendent. And in the same time period, they had lost 24% of their staffing across the board, and they also had county road fund money. So I thought it was an interesting comparison. They certainly had a much greater hit for what I would deem as one of our most identical districts in the state of Oregon, as comparison to us in terms of economics, all the different metrics, the population, the rural location, the whole bit. So just as a comparison, again, we've done a very good job in comparison to other districts. Also, last but not least, Senate Bill 3560. Remember I talked to you about that the Oregon Board of Education had actually supported the legislation in terms of Native American mascots. And so since then, there's some lawmakers that are again introducing another bill to try and overturn that. So I don't know how much momentum it will have. It's pretty new and it's in its infancy right now, but it is Senate Bill 3560. And so we'll just have to kind of watch and see where that ends up. That's all I have on that.
Service District.
ESD budget report.
Yeah, I'm having heat stroke. Melting in my chair. Lake County ESD budget report.
Yes, Mr. Zamudio can certainly chime in anytime he wants, but he and I both attended.
does.
What's that?
He usually does.
Oh, okay. He and I both attended the ESD budget meeting. The good news is, if you can take a look at the budget message submitted by Superintendent Nash, is that there is enough forward momentum with a funding bill for them that it looks like there's going to be additional $165,000 in funding available. Keep in mind, our ESD has been flat funded for over 10 years at the $1 million floor. And so this is the first time there's been any kind of adjustment to that. And so when you're flat funded and your costs continue to increase, that means your dollars they don't go as far. And so now with an additional $165,000, that's really, really good news. I also included a handout in there. It said, it's entitled, "We had $165,000 extra, where did it go?" And so there's a good breakdown of where it is going, and a lot of it's just cost of doing business. But the good news is that's covering those costs, and the ESD is not in cut mode right now, which is real positive also, because we do need expansion in technology services, special ed services. A lot of those things are huge and a great value on our dollar that our ESD provides for us. And if you really want to get down to brass tacks, this other handout kind of shows a major budget area in terms of breakdown, in terms of the different categories, in terms of increases or decreases to those different areas. The rationale varies anywhere from programming needs to staffing staffing costs, negotiations with collective bargaining agreements to what just, it kind of runs the whole gamut. But I would say it was a very positive ESD budget meeting. It was an easy budget to pass. Again, it's all hinging upon that legislation passing, but they're pretty sure it's going to. They felt confident enough that it was going to happen. So, Mr. Zamudio, anything you want to add to that?
Yes. I think the positive is really the thing to get. Particularly that you can see the services and special ed services, you know, that big one, special ed, right there, 40,000, look at that. And some tech funding down there, just look at them. Those are probably the things. Right.
Also keep in mind that the ESD was able to budget to continue covering our audit costs. And so that's always been kind of hit and miss every year, as to whether they can cover it or not, but they certainly built that in. It looks pretty stable in terms of covering those costs.
Moving on to old business, solar project update.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Mr. Anderson and I had a meeting with Todd Gregory of the City of Renewables, and we're waiting on a letter from Todd, because I don't want to get into a whole lot of specifics, because I don't want to put words in his mouth, but basically he's changing their status of involvement in the project to more of a consultant organization rather than a sponsoring organization. Would you say that kind of summarizes it, Darrell?
Yeah. That doesn't.
Yeah. So there's going to be some decisions, I think, on behalf of the board in terms of looking forward with the project. We'll still be able to do the project. We just need to reapply for some committing, reapply for some grant funding. And to tell you the truth, it might be an advantage for this change of their role in the project. But beyond that, we don't know a whole lot of details at this point.
No, we need some more information from the Department of Energy. The school reapplied for the grants itself. It might actually be financially better for the school district to do that. The
conditional use, planning permit is expired. That isn't a major issue to apply for that. But if that expired and the grants that Obsidian had expired, then kind of leaves us in more of a driver's seat. So I think we need some more information on the funding, how eligible we are for the grant, what percentage we will do before we can make a decision. We don't
Right.
know.
So there needs to be some more additional information gathered before we can really wrap our minds around this.
Any indication why they're changing the status?
Yeah, you know, and that's where I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I think it has a lot to do with just things have changed in their timeline that they had lined up, didn't come through like they had hoped, because they were looking at ways of collaborating some joint projects together to reduce their costs and make it profitable on their end. And so things have changed in that time frame. And so again, we need to get some more information before we really bring anything to the board in terms of what it is this project.
So now, because they have a big project heading over to July,
Yeah, and that's still going, but I think the contractor has changed and again, that's where I want Todd to comment on his letter.
I thought that was part of the.
That was part of it.
Move
And there's been some changes there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Additional summer grounds hiring.
Yeah, with the recent activity that we've had in the maintenance department, John approached me about adding additional youth summer program person. And later on, you'll see where he's asking, or he has picked us four. Mr. Cross did the interviews and selected on 4 of them. We had probably 6 or 7 apply. A couple of them already had jobs before Mr. Crock could get to them, so they were lined out already. So, but we are asking that we do add an additional youth summer maintenance, along with keeping Joel. He can help out a little bit more, but he's not sure with his schedule how much that's going to entail. So we're just asking for that.
So no additional?
One additional, for a total of 4. We asked for the 3 earlier, along with
Right.
Joel.
And the actual approval for that you will find in your consent agenda, so.
We need to approve
The additional 4th position. And then later on, we'll have the individuals from Mr. Roberts.
Is he sticking with 4 because he needs to be able to manage that, and he doesn't want more because it becomes a management nightmare? Not that he probably doesn't need one,
Yeah.
but it becomes a point that you only hurt so many cats.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's kind of where you're at.
Yeah, and I think he felt like I think both of you guys felt like the applicant pool was pretty strong, also, along with that. And so, and given the circumstances, we darn sure could use an extra finance in there.
Would it be wise to approve 2 positions and leave 1 open, and then that way if he gets into it, needs another position, we could have a discrepancy to hire, because there's a lot to be done.
There's a lot to be.
I'd be in support of that.
And then that would be his discretion, if he
Yep.
gets some kids that are lined out and
Yep.
doing good work, and he says, man, I could fit 1 more in here, then we can go ahead and do it.
Okay. I would be much support of that.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you noticed or not, but after graduation, I walked out the building, I thought, wow, these grounds, it's the best they've been looking in a
Yeah,
while.
it looked really nice.
They look really nice.
And I want you to know how stressed he was
Yeah,
on Friday.
yeah,
And let them know that we appreciate how they do it.
I
we will.
I
We will.
that.
So I would support a motion to have 2.
All right, I'll move that we have 2 additional temporary summer help positions to the maintenance staff.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve 2 additional summer rounds hires. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. New business. Certified staff resignations.
Yes, Mr. Chair, you have 2 resignations in front of you, one from Kristen Collins and one from Stephen Scobie.
All right, well. I don't want to do anything with those, so.
You could approve them in one motion together or separately.
I'll move we approve the resignations. As submitted.
I'll second.
So the motion has been made and seconded to approve the 2 letters of resignation. I would like to add that I think we need to, those 2 individuals, especially when we wish Mr. Scoville well and his new endeavor of going back to China. But also a letter of appreciation for the years that Mrs. Collins taught English and I do know their service has been much appreciated.
They will receive certificates on Wednesday morning. Would you like a letter in addition to that?
I think from the board, that would be nice. Yeah. So, motion's
Want
on
to
that.
add that to the motion?
Add that to the motion. Any other discussion? So the motion has been made and seconded to include those letters of resignation, but also to include the letters of recognition for the time and the rest of it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Certified retirement approvals.
That's classified.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're right. Sorry.
So by board policy, I can approve the resignations, but we need board approval for the retirements for Mrs. Rosa Felder and Mrs. Kathy Ashburn.
I move that we approve the retirements. Well, Rosa Felder and Kathy Ashford, my son's favorite.
How long was Kathy there?
21 years.
21 years?
Yes.
And Rosa was how long? 25. Very long standing. Valuable individuals.
Yes, great ladies.
Is there typically something from,
Yes, we have certificates we'll be presenting to all the staff that are moving on during the breakfast on Wednesday.
As well as the retirees of their flowers.
Flowers for the classified and the retirees for certified without. With their name and grade.
7:30 a.m. breakfast. Invitation.
All right. So the motion's been made and seconded to approve the retirements of Rosa Felder and Kathy Ashford. Again, making sure that nobody's made no. Oh, who said? Also. Who seconded it? Again, making sure that they know that the board also supported their many years of service to the district. 25 and 21, that's significant. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. Letter of support to KCC Board of Directors from Lake County School District 7 Board of Directors.
This was suggested to me by some of your membership. okay, we'll need board approval, and all board members can sign, and we'll send them all.
Okay, I think that would be appropriate. Somebody needs to.
I'll make a motion that we send the letter of support to KCC board from our Lake County School District.
I'll second
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the letter to KCC from KCC Board to Marburg. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 9.4, 15-16 school board meeting calendar, first reading.
Yes, Mr. Chair, it's just first reading. This is a tentative schedule, assuming that the board wants to stay with 2 meetings per month. I would recommend that it's approved at the first July meeting. Traditionally, we always like to bring it in front of the board at the last meeting, or one of the last meetings in June, just for consideration and for discussion in case the board wanted to make some changes.
All right.
Do you want to leave it at the first reading, or does it look like something we could act on?
Just keep in mind, you will have a new board member joining you in July.
Okay.
Got any plans on any days yet?
I was fine.
Whatever you want. It's pretty, I mean, it's pretty much a very full calendar.
It is.
And we can adjust it as
You
it
can
goes,
adjust
as
it.
it goes, so I would entertain a motion to just approve it as presented.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it for you guys.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the, school board calendar for 15-16 as presented. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So, certified hire recommendations.
Mr. Cahill, I do believe you have a 4th grade.
Yes, I do. I actually, Mrs. Warner, I pulled her in all these hires, because it's going to kind of be an integral part of her future. So I'm going to share the hiring recommendations with her this evening, and she's going to take this one. Here on.
Thank you, Mr. Cahill. Just keeping that up. It's a little warm in here. Megan Balkin is right out of school from OSU Cascades program, and I think they're training around about, I don't know, 20, 30, maybe? That Jessica and I met at the job fair in Redmond, and she is one of the only candidates that we've had come out of these job fairs. She is just a very excited, enthusiastic young teacher, and her passion is 4th grade to begin with. She's already come down and visited the classrooms. After her interview, she drove down for the interview, and then she came back down last Friday and visited 4th grade teachers, spent the day with the kids, and she wants a set of keys to get home. But she's really looking forward to being back to you.
Register. To remind you, she was filling the position vacated by Kayla Tagg, and of course Kayla Tagg is one of them special education.
Okay.
Yeah, any more questions on her?
So she's in Daisy right now?
No, that's a different one. She is in the Bend area and came down. She went through OSU Cascades program. They can get their teaching certificate out of that campus now.
She's fresh out of school.
But we are going to try and use that as a resource. We made contact with the advisor there, and she's willing to kind of watch for kiddos that want to be in Eastern Oregon schools for us and up there as possible candidates.
I make a motion. Hires.
Okay. Second. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the hire of Megan Balkin. All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Carries. 9-6.
Not quite.
No, we're still.
Yeah, we got a few to go here. Mr. Chair, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Prock at this point in regards to a teacher recommendation. Ag.
Had two in there, I believe. Did we have a transfer and all as well? Did we have transfer? We don't have to, okay.
No.
This is a recommendation to hire Christy Reese as ag science teacher. It's a job we've had flown for a couple of months and interviewed about 4 or 5 folks. And Christy comes to us from the vet hospital with a doctorate and double bachelor's, OSU, Washington State University, and a double doctorate from Oregon State University and Washington State University. She's practicing as a veterinarian currently down at the animal hospital. She's a Lakeview grad, where she was very active in FFA ag program under her father's direction. She has also been very active in 4-H club, and as kids have gone through FFA and 4-H as well, as well as volunteering on the West Side Parents Club, and been very active in the school system. We're very excited to add Christy to our CTE staff and continue to build that program. Yeah, it's looking like the schedule's still kind of in the works. That's why I didn't list the FTE, but it looks like she's going to be teaching 4 periods of ag.
Keep in mind, it's been in the long-range agriculture improvement plan for about 6 or 7 years now to increase the FTE in the ag department. So keep in mind, this is an increase over existing FTE in the ag department. We're really excited about this opportunity.
So that would take effect July 1st?
Yes, sir.
The ag teacher's on a little different
Yeah.
contract, yeah.
So that would cover all the summer
Yes,
advisory.
yes, yeah. And actually, I've got,
And that's
separate
coming up.
recommendations for those as well.
Yeah, those will come up next. So what you're approving right now in front of you is just approving Mrs. Reese as an additional ag teacher.
CTE certification process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with her degrees, that's not an issue.
Most times with a doctorate, they don't even have to do it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm
So the motion's been made and seconded to approve the hiring recommendation of Christy Reese as our agricultural science teacher. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. So now we have the SAE.
Yeah, next recommendation is Christy Reese for our summer agricultural experience effective July 1, so she can begin her duties with supervising these kids that have animals or projects for the fair. Once again, I'd like to approve Christy without the number of days. Set up a meeting with her and Mr. Cahill prior to that July 1 to go over the year calendar, determine the amount of days. We approved 15 days for the past few years, and so we're going to look at that and see what Christy has in mind for the amount of days for that and the amount of activities that she has planned.
Okay. Thanks for explaining the acronym. I was having a little trouble.
Is there a motion to approve the SAE advisory?
So moved.
So the motion's been made and seconded to approve Christy Reese as our SAE advisor. And the days will be negotiated.
Yeah.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. So next up is FA advisor.
It's my pleasure to recommend Christy Reese, FFA advisor. She is a natural for that position. Once again, been active in this community over the years with her children and other children, with animals and care projects. And she's familiar with the FFA, the organization, been active as a parent in the chapter. She's already kind of working behind the scenes on district leadership camp that's going to happen in July at Cottonwood Meadows. And then she'll take the various teams to contests throughout the 15-16 school year.
So this is a separate extra duty contract?
Yes.
We have two of them.
Yes.
Okay, I'm aware of that.
One is extra, the SAE is extra days of their contract, and the FFA advisor is an extra duty contract, like a coaching position.
Different job descriptions for each.
Right.
I'll make the motion to approve Christie Reese, FFA advisor.
Motion's made and seconded to approve Christie Reese as our FFA advisor. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right. So now we're moving on and will make a recommendation. And that is with our Fremont pay and union interim principal. Is that right?
Go ahead, Mr. Kale.
I am pleased to recommend Mrs. Susan Warner for the interim elementary principal for those three buildings. And, she has a wonderful record of experience in this district. She has proven her leadership by way of being a head teacher at Union School for the past 3 years. And then when she was APA, she used to sit in for me when I would be off at conferences, meetings, whatever. And she's proven her worth, and I want to recommend her for this position.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
All right.
She did a fabulous job just a couple of minutes ago.
Yes, she did.
Yes.
Is there a second?
She's trained.
So the motion's been made and seconded to approve Susan Warner as our Fremont ADA and Union interim principal. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for your interest. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the
Throw green money.
All right. What does that bring us to?
9.7.
Okay. So, 9.7, Lake County ESD Budget Committee appointment.
Yes, Mr. Chair, what you see in front of you is the next budget calendar for the ESD. And Mr. Zamudio is coming off the board, and I'm moving on in my endeavors. And so the board could try and appoint 2 people to take our place with the ESD Budget Committee tonight, or you could think about it and have more discussions with your interim superintendent. It's up to you.
Logical is one person right there.
Well,
I think I would like to serve on
I would say that logically, Will would be one, and
I would recommend that.
I would hate to shortchange our new board member who isn't here and our other board member who was out of town in this opportunity. So I would say we can either approve his will or just roll it over, and it's up to the board.
Do you
We can table it for a while.
So we'll table it until we can allow the opportunity.
But we've heard interest, right?
Yes.
Yes.
We got
Yes, so I'm thinking we only need to fill one spot.
Two of them,
two.
You know,
Yeah.
I must say, when I took over one of the positions, there was some raised eyebrows, but it's worked out extremely well. And it really put us in a good position with the ESD. Yeah, it's worked out quite well. So I would highly recommend the bill continue to pass.
All right, we'll table that for now. Consent agenda. So we have I have three items on the consent agenda.
Yep, you can approve them on one swoop, or pull them out separately, whatever you like to do.
So our OSP policy updates, we went through those in
Yep.
our work session.
Yep.
I think we're comfortable with where that's at.
Yep.
So I don't want to go into
No, I think they're good.
Nike School Innovation Fund.
Yep, it's added.
And the summer grounds hire approval, and so we have one individual that obviously was selected, so I think we can just roll ahead, so so usually I say we just, I gotta get a motion to.
I'd like to talk about that Nike school grant. We missed out on the first round because we didn't qualify, didn't have the criteria, so we were all pretty disappointed. It was basically one person's relentless effort, Brandy Harris, that we later discovered in round 2 they had some extra funds, and because of Mrs. Harris's efforts and Mr. Hamilton's efforts, we were awarded $13,500 for our ad. So these guys deserve all the credit for that.
Thank you.
She crossed it.
Okay, the new job description, grant writers.
That's right. Appreciate it. Thanks for that persistence.
Yes.
All right. So the motion to approve consent agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made and seconded to approve consent agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Announcements.
Yes, Mr. Chair, District End of the Year Breakfast, Wednesday this week, June 10th, 7:30 a.m. LHS Cafeteria, you are all invited to participate. Come one, come all, we'll be serving breakfast and honoring those staff members that are moving on, and retiring, and just kind of recapping the year. A lot of success.
All right. Thanks. OSPA Summer Board Conference.
Yes, Mr. Chair, again, those dates are in front of you. If you're interested in attending, please see Rebecca.
And Stephanie is attending, and she is already signed up. Yeah, Mr. Cahill and myself.
I'll see you there.
All right.
Can I have another announcement?
Sure.
Administrators and I are hosting a little get-together after school day on June 10th at the Elks. Say goodbye to a number of people. This person right here will be one of them. From 4 to 6. And you and your spouses are welcome to as well. Please let Rebecca know if you are going to attend, that you need an RSVP by tomorrow.
Thank you.
Appreciate putting that together.
All right. Thanks, Will. Late items, we have 12.1, higher recommendations.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I do believe Mr. Cahill has another recommendation here.
Okay, I'm going to put Mrs. Warner up first. There you go, delegating. You're on.
Oh, I'm not sure exactly which one we're doing.
Savannah.
Okay, that helps.
And I'm doing Teresa.
That helps.
Okay.
Savannah Poole has been teaching for a couple of years in Paisley in multi-grade classroom. And Savannah was a student of mine actually when I was in high school. She comes highly recommended. Mary O'Leary's fairly soared us for hiring Savannah. And she's been spending quite a bit of time out at Union, just getting to know the kids and visiting. We'd like to fill her in a 2-3 position. We project 21 kids in our 2-3 classroom this next year. And because she's so highly organized, she's got the experience in the multi-grade classroom, I think that she'll handle that really nicely. And she's very excited to be out there as well. So, questions? Good? She says glowing recommendations.
Great.
On my end, I am a little bit of terror on that, because you can't find union endorsement teachers anymore. But we're very fortunate. John Shine, who I happen to grow up with in Miguel, and went through grade school, high school, and college with. And I was there when he was courting Teresa at Oregon State. Moved back to Lake County. He's been away for 30 years, and he lucked out. Teresa is a union endorsed teacher. She's in Title I classes when they lived in Washington. She was in Title I classes down in California. She's taught kindergarten. So we're very fortunate to have the Shines move here and bring Teresa with them. So I'm recommending Teresa Shine to fill the vacated Title I position, reading teacher.
Well, I'll move to approve the teaching hires as recommended by Mr. Cahill and Mrs. Warner. Teresa Shine for, what does that mean?
Title I teacher.
I'll be your name was
Savannah Poole for second, third grade position at Union.
So the motion has been made and seconded to approve Savannah Poole as our union fourth grade teacher and Teresa Shine as our
Title I teacher, and union second, third grade teacher for Savannah.
I'd like to thank the board for giving us the opportunity to hire this so we can get us going, because I really feel like we've had some great applicants this year. It's helped with them.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
So the other item in 12.2 is,
Nope.
no, I'm sorry, 2 coaching.
Yep. Mr. Hamilton? They pulled. Why do I have them in front of me though?
Because they were just pulled right before the meeting.
Okay. All right, I guess they pulled.
All right. So we will go on to 12.2 turf installation.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is something that Mr. Anderson and I need a little guidance from the board on. We're looking at an approximate date of June 17th, is that correct?
No, we'll move it back. It's going to be the week of the 22nd, probably the 25th or the 26th.
Probably in the
And or both.
22nd?
Yeah.
The week of the 22nd of June,
Oh,
but
Or,
more towards the end of the week is what we're looking at. There's still a few things that need to have happened before we can actually lay that sod.
expect to get rid of the weeds.
Well, we killed them.
yeah, we'll take care of that. That's an easy.
That's in the works, yeah.
That's the sod for the soccer field. It was brought to my attention with some phone calls I received that the Rotary Club had went to the corrections facility, asked for help with the inmates. And there was some issues with that when we discussed it earlier. And although they did offer to, offering that we didn't have to pay them for the time of supervision, that came from Mr. Brown. I talked to him today. There's been some issues on community service help and inmates on school grounds, students, that sort of thing. So I guess we need some direction. Is that something we want to pursue, or do we seek our maintenance crew and volunteers to do it?
Basically, essentially, we have to notify for 3 blocks around the soccer field of them being there. Plus, the summer maintenance crew and the youth will have to go to union for those 2 days if we bring in the inmates. Because I can't have them being in there.
And oftentimes we find students that are still, they're on school grounds. I mean, they're, even during summer, they're using the baseball field, they're using the football field. That exposure is still a liability for us in a time when we don't have staff to really supervise our grounds.
How many folks, I mean, are you bringing one crew of 10, or are you providing a DOC officer?
But still, I mean, it's got that line of sight.
And so your other option is what?
Other option is rounding up volunteers.
Our initial was our maintenance crew, which,
That's a lot of stuff.
it's a lot of things, so it is but I also asked Mr. Nickel if he had any students that's in the soccer program that could come in during the summertime. He did express that that's tough because it is summer. But we were also relying on a few hands from Rotary also.
Should be a good first football practice.
So,
If it was August 22nd, I'd say yes.
I'm not sure that I have a lot of reservation about it from the standpoint, it's in a big open field that they're, and it's not like they're working on the ground corner of the building.
And I understand the concern, but I also have labeled us, it's going to be a lot of work. And I would hate to put that even off on our maintenance. That's a big job.
well, and at this point, we will have to have John and Tinker there, both of them there at that time when they do lay that sod. So they'll be committed. So,
I'm sure if we had to send the youth maintenance crew out to Union, they'd find plenty to do it.
there's plenty to do, and we'd have to send them with Joel, and Joel is prepared to cover for John, things that he would be in town. So, I mean, we have that capability. It's just a matter of, we'll end up probably, I think there's some guidelines around having to go pay them to come in and do that. But I don't know how, I don't know how Mr. Brown came around that. I don't know.
I don't know, what he told me on the phone, I specifically called him today.
Right.
He runs the prison, so
Right. Going on his
Whatever,
word,
yeah.
I guess.
we'll hold it to him.
So our concern is we have to follow a certain protocol because it's going to be, and that is going to be a little bit cumbersome, but which is the worst of the two evils? Following the protocol so we can do that, or rounding up a bunch of volunteers and trying to get them to throw sod on the ground. I don't know. That's, give me some direction, I guess, on which way we feel that we should go, and we'll try to make it happen.
It is gonna be tough to get volunteers.
Yeah.
I will give you that. There's no doubt in my mind, there's people, our administrators are gonna be gone even. People are gonna be on vacation. My maintenance crew is pretty thin right now, obviously. So I guess, but I guess my concern would be those kiddos, making sure they were gone. That's my biggest concern.
I mean, I agree with Dustin, in fact, that if they're out around the school, they're kind of isolated in the field, they're stuck by the district office, it's a pretty contained area. That's all they're gonna do is be right on that field, we can keep an eye on them. I mean, we've used prison crews at the fairgrounds, and that's, at least getting into the issue of, 4-H kids can't be out there, we've got to close the fairgrounds. I mean, I think the community, if we made it a regular occurrence, the community would probably scratch their head and say, this probably isn't appropriate. It's kind of a one-time unique isolated event. I think it's pretty big ordeal and a chunk of sod, so I think if it was kind of
Darryl, didn't we use it for football?
Excuse me?
The football field, didn't we do the same thing for the football field? We brought the prisoners in for the sod on the football field.
But they didn't even
we
do
had a lot of
all that.
volunteers too.
Because they didn't finish it, and we had to come in and finish it, and it sucked. There's this big job, it just sucked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a project.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes some work. That's why I think we got some phone calls from you after that. Okay.
They've done snow removal too. I remember some snow removal off the baseball field one time. So we've used it in the past.
Yeah, but that's when we have staff that can supervise the kids and keep them out of there. Some of the time we don't.
But that's also why there's, DOC officers are there to keep them away from kids and doing things appropriately.
Right. To keep
There's
the
a
kids-
bunch of protocol in doing that, in place already. It's not like all of a sudden we're opening the gate and letting a bunch of people out that never been outside before. It's
So
a
you-
very regimented.
Yeah, and by location, it works out better because it's over at the district office essentially.
So do you need approval, I guess, of that? I mean, I guess I don't.
Well, if the board is willing to allow us to make those arrangements for the prison crews, and they're okay with the risk involved with that, then that's the way we'll proceed.
Yeah, and the risk reduction is moving the kids, they're gonna be out doing maintenance work out in the school rather than in the county.
For those kids that we control, but again, there's kids throughout the summer, and that's where I have my biggest concern.
Yeah, I'm not. Those same crews could be out on the sidewalk anywhere in this community, and we can't control that. It's just because it's a school, and, I mean, it's a natural place for kids, but I don't think there's any kids hanging out in a dirt field with dead weeds.
Laying sod.
Laying sod, they'll be put to work probably, show up.
So, but you're also gonna try to round up some other crews as well, are you?
I'm not certain.
Okay. All right.
I'd say capitalize on the inmate crew as much as you can, and if they run out of time, we then decide, okay, there's another particular work, and then we can finish up that.
Okay.
I'd say try to get the ultimate stuff done with the prison crew.
Okay. All right.
That would be more.
Okay. How's that? Okay. All right. You want to make a motion?
I think we need an approval.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, one day.
I think you better shoot for two,
You do.
I'd say 2 days.
Honestly,
2 days, so you
at
can
least.
get a bulk of it done.
Sure, too,
You think a crew of 10 could do it in 2 days? We need 3.
It goes fairly quickly.
we'll have to use all three.
Three's not gonna do it. It's up to 3 days.
So I'll make the motion. The use of DOC, 10-person midday crew with the correctional supervisor for laying sod on the soccer field up to 3 days.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the use of the DOC crew up to 3 days for laying sod on the soccer field. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Let's see, next board meeting.
23rd.
22nd.
22nd.
And do we have any agenda items?
I have some
I
hires.
called it. I called it.
They have 3 hires.
I have some hires. Try some housekeeping, gonna be the final board, or the budget approval.
I just want to go over the financial statements.
Yeah. Should not be a lengthy meeting.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
All right.
Keep it short.